Hi, this is Stacia, and we're going to take a look at a training game that I just played on leadchess.org. And yeah, this one was an Evans Gambit. So, what I'm hoping to do in this video is learn how I might play the opening and middle game ideas better. And then also, the end game was interesting. Well, interesting for me. But okay. So let's have a look at this game. Okay. Yeah, and I decided to create a stormy background or a stormy theme impromptu for this video just because it's Captain Evans. All right, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. This is basically a new leg of my repertoire I've been trying since June, so not long. Bishop c5, and now I like the move b4. So this is Evans' gambit, and he did accept the gambit, which they almost always do, I noticed. Okay, so now we're going to follow through with our idea, which is to play c3 with tempo on the bishop so that we can more easily get d4 and create the strong duo in the center. So this happened, and he went bishop to a5. So I've had a lot of people play the Anderson variation with bishop e7. I know that bishop f8's a move, all the bishop moves are a move, but he played bishop a5, which is the main line. Okay, so here, I almost forgot what to do. I have not analyzed this game yet, by the way, so we're kind of doing it together. Yeah, I thought I should play d4. That's sort of the point of this opening, so I played it. Oops, and the engine's on. Okay. Also, I'm going to turn the arrows off. Sometimes it shows the arrows before I want to see them, So, okay. All right, so d4, and he took the pawn, which is probably the best move. This is called the Pierce defense. And now I have two moves that I've played in the past. I could go queen b3 or just castle, and I see those are the two moves in the opening book, so I went with castles. And I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the exact position that occurred in the Bobby Fischer Dr. Fine game, where Dr. Fine takes on c3, and then Fischer has an incredible initiative where black never breathes and loses the game. So, okay. My opponent did something similar here. I've never seen this move. And I have to admit, I really thought it was wrong during the game, but knowing a line was refuted and actually refuting it are two different things, big time. So he took here, and this is not a book move, in fact. And almost certainly I should take that bishop. So let's see. Why are there so many arrows? Hang on 1 second for me. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so I took this bishop. Is that the best move? Apparently the computer agrees. I mean, it looks natural to me. And this does open the D file for me, and the thing I like about this move is that my knight was previously undeveloped on the b1 square, but his bishop went bishop c4, bishop b4, bishop a5, and bishop takes c3. So that's a lot of tempos. Okay, you shouldn't move your bishop that much in the opening. We know that. So there must be consequences for this. And now I went queen to b3. This seems reasonable. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know Evans Gambit very well, but there's a video by Grandmaster Simon Williams where he says in Evans Gambit, you play d4 or you play b4, then you play c3, d4, you castle, and then you attack f7. And that was like his recipe for this opening. So I was kind of following that. So queen b3. Plus I can collect the pawn if I want. The downside to queen b3 is that knight a5 is often a thing. Awesome a thing? No, it's not awesome. It's awesome for black. it's annoying for white. Okay. So I was expecting queen f6 here. Because queen e7, I mean, queen e7 looks like, okay, you're eyeing this pawn, but once I move my bishop on c1, he can never take that, or I play rook e1 and win the queen. Okay. Yeah, and here's where I really want to know. What is the best move in this position? I played bishop g5. Seems reasonable. But what do you guys think? Like, if you want to, pause your video and see if you can find a good move for white. So it turns out the computer wants bishop to a3, which I actually thought wasn't a good move, because after bishop to a3, there's d6. So is there some reason there's not d6? Yes, there is. Then I go e5. Wow, look at this. So here's our first thing that we're learning. e5, attacking the pinned pawn. He still cannot take it. It's protected by the knight. And if the knight takes the pawn, then we have that same trick where knight takes, and if the queen wants to take, he cannot take with a pawn. Then rook fe1 is good for white. So we don't want to do that if we're black. So therefore, wow, bishop a3 is good then, because d6 is not an available resource. Wow, and if you can't go d6, then what do? Your queen's attacked. You have to spend another tempo. Yikes. Yeah, and that just feels very suspicious doing this. And white has developed another piece in the meantime. Now the rooks are connected. So yeah, I agree with bishop a3. Wow, it's like I saw bishop a3, but I didn't know it was good here. I thought d6. So that was cool. That's something I learned already. Okay, but I went bishop g5. It says white's still a little bit better here, which is kind of surprising since I'm down 2 pawns, right? But that's the nice thing about Evans' Gambit. And I was expecting either knight f6 or f6 here. And the computer's giving a move I did not expect. Queen b4. Wow. Queen to b4. Well, that undefends f7. So I would take it. King to f8. Rook a to c1 the computer gives. I'm assuming they really want a queen trade here. Wow, computer, at first it was giving a5, which seems, a5, which seems inconsistent, but now it is giving this. So here, oh, we take back with the bishop. Yeah, white's still better here. I don't know if I mind this position that much, but I understand what the computer's doing. It just wants to trade queens. Giving up the f pawn maybe isn't a big deal because they're still up a pawn. And the king on f8 isn't a big deal because the queens are off the board. So, okay, instead of f6 makes sense to me. Attacking my bishop, I have to move it again. But I kind of thought this might be fine for me because the downside, well, f6 has a couple downsides, I think. One is that the knight really, really wants to go there, and the knight's not going there now. And number two is that this square is often, this diagonal is often open to checks. And even though my queen is currently on b3, I thought maybe I could make use of that diagonal somehow. You know, I mean, like, I'm not very good with my arrows today, am I? I feel hyper today. Am I hyper? All right. Okay, let's continue. Knight a5. So this is a resource that happens when you play queen b3 and bishop c4. But I figured here I would collect one pawn. How bad could that be? He takes my bishop, I take his knight, and d6. Okay, and I think the fun thing about playing Evans' Gambit is it's kind of like a race. Can white start an attack and create an initiative Or is black going to complete development? So I have a couple pluses. I have the move f6 is sort of in my favor because the knight's so awkward. And all my pieces are developed. My rooks are going to come to the center next. Okay. Yeah, and here again, how do we continue? How do we continue? I thought, if I do nothing, black could play here and castles. But then again, can they do that? Because I could go here. So maybe here instead. Then it's defended by the queen. So I was considering rook e1 here. I was considering knight to d4 here. I was considering rook to b1 just because it puts an eye on this pawn, making it hard for the bishop to come out. I would take that. So, okay, the computer says knight to d4. So I found the right move. And bringing the knight to the center is usually a good idea in middle games, so it's not surprising. Okay, and now black needs to develop. But he played a6. Yeah, what was he afraid of here? I think he's afraid of knight to b5 for some reason. Couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even planning on that move. But okay. a6. And now I played rook to b1. Computer does not like this move. So let's see if we can find a better move. I would consider rook to e1. f3 looks desirable but slow. e5 is quite not... I don't think e5 is a thing. Let's just see. No, black's winning after e5. I thought so. If rook f to e1, this move's totally fine, it says. Although the game's almost equal. And rook b1, the game is about equal, same thing. But the computer says white has a significant advantage after rook a to c1. Yeah, that's an initiative type move. That's an initiative type move. So I'm kind of sad I didn't see that. So at least we're making a threat and developing our rook at the same time, which seems very reasonable. And the computer gives g5. Wow. Really? Bishop g3. Knight to h6, and they're going to sack their pawn. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'd be afraid of this. But when you are down, or when you are up material, though, and the initiative seems strong, you can always give up that material back. And a lot of times the resulting positions are good for you. This is not one of those positions, though, because, well, I've got a rook on c7. And black hasn't finished development. So yeah, I think white's better too. I'd rather play white, that's for sure. Okay. So knight to d4, a6, rook to b1. This isn't an annoying move, at least. The bishop can't really develop. Knight to a6. And here it's like, do I really want that knight to come to the center like this? And I was looking at my bishop, and my bishop, he's not too happy. There's a bunch of dark square pawns that are defended quite nicely, so I took this. Turns out this is the best move. At least I have something to work with here. I have this pawn, this pawn. Now if I could get that check that I want, maybe I have some stuff going on. So I played queen to d5. Okay. Here the computer gives rook f to e1. I was also considering knight f5, but it feels wrong somehow. So let's see. Computer agrees. I mean, the problem with this exchange is that I used to have a good knight, and he used to have a bishop in the way. And now my good knight is gone, and he's ready to castle. So I don't like that. So I didn't play that. Queen to d5. I thought, hey, this poses some problems. I'm sort of eyeing this. I'm sort of eyeing this. Now, he could play queen f7, it says. I didn't consider that move. If queen f7, yeah, I guess that kind of like defeats my... yeah, queen f7. I would have to go queen a5, I think. There's no way I want to trade queens. And now the computer says black could castle. Wow. And black's slightly better. But this is still a game, I think. I'm worse, but it's a game. Okay. Instead, he played rook to b8, wanting to develop his bishop. So he justified my rook to b1 move doing this, because now he will not castle queenside anymore, which is something I was worried about. Yeah, and here, oh, I saw this later. Whoops. So sorry, I had a sneeze attack. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah, it's white to move and win. Hopefully you saw it. Knight c6. Of course. You cannot take the bishop because that's good for white. And if you don't take it, did I say bishop? I meant knight. Then that's called a forkaruski, as I tell my kiddo students. All right, so rook to b8 is a huge blunder. And I saw this move and was waiting for it later, not realizing that I had it earlier. Isn't chess great? Okay, yeah, but I was dying to get this check in, so I did this. I figured, hey, this is sort of a fork. I figured he would do this, and I'm like, hey, you know, it's Evan's Gambit. I don't really care about pawns at this point. So I was expecting him to take that pawn, but I think that is risky. I would take here. Yeah, this probably doesn't work out for him at all. Even better, queen g7. Attacking the rook, rook f8. Take here, attacking the other rook. Yeah, that's a huge initiative. White must be winning now. Yeah, I would say so. Okay, so yeah, he cannot take on a2. It's actually poison. So these moves are always so funny because, okay, I used to play moves like these when I was a d4 player. I probably still would. But this move is like, please trade queens with me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a good move. It's just like, please trade queens with me. I'm tired of you attacking. So of course I didn't do that. Queen f4. Bishop h3. So my opponent finally poses a problem for me. But it's not much of a problem, is it? I can go queen f3. This defends and attacks the bishop. I expected bishop g4, which he played. But now I can just go queen to d3. I think this is fine because it prepares the move knight f5. And given that if he takes check and I win the queen, that would be nice. So knight f5 is prepared. Oh, I can't get rid of the arrows. Okay. a5. So, okay. My opponent wants to attack, but his king's on e8. So, come on, what are you doing? I don't know if I agree with this. Computer says castle kingside. Yeah, that's what I would expect. I mean, why are you attacking me with your king on e8? That just seems like a bad idea, right? And I was like praying for king to d8 so I could play my knight c6 move, but it didn't happen. Okay, so a5, and now, well, I wanted to play this move, so I played it. Computer says f4 is better. Let's look at this. These, whoa, sorry. All right. a5, f4. What is this? I like to learn new ideas. So what is this move? I think the idea is f5. We're going to attack the queen with our pawn, or maybe we're going to play e5. Oh, maybe it's to play e5, because that would break everything open with the king on the e8 square, and it opens up the rook at the same time. Okay. I didn't really consider f4, but looking at it now, I already like it better. So I'll keep that in mind in the future. So I'll move like that. But knight f5 is also decent. It says it's equal here, but I'm not sure I'd want to be black. If you're a really good defender, then be black because you have more pawns. But yeah, king to d7. That's a reasonable move. Rook to e1. I'm getting ready to move my queen, but I didn't want to deal with this again because if g3, he takes my rook. So I move my rook. Okay, and now he takes the knight. So I took, and he took. And I reasoned that I could give up another pawn because now his king looks very shaky. Queen e7 check. Yeah, and if you're looking at the times, yeah, this is what I do every game ever. My opponent has like usually 5 minutes and I have a few seconds. But somehow I'm pulling these games out. Look, here's the thing. I enjoy chess. I want to enjoy my games. I don't want to move quickly. So I don't until I have to. All right, so king c6 check. King c6 check. Rook e to c1 check is the move. I think that's pretty natural. I'm stopping the king from going here by leaving the rook on b1. Let's drive the king to the center. Okay. And now I thought, this must be fine. Now I'm threatening rook check. That would skewer and allow me to take here, which seems reasonable, so I did that. And I mean, with the king on e4, I must be winning. Still got to prove it with 11 seconds left. Yeah, and here, I mean, oh my gosh, you know what? This is checkmate. Rook to b4. Oh man, I didn't see that move. But that is checkmate. It's kind of pretty. Yeah, so when someone attacks your queen like this, I think it's important to look for other moves before you move your queen. I instead moved my queen with check, just because I knew I would at least get a pawn. This is still good, though. And of course, I'm dying to skewer him, but it's not going to happen yet. Okay, so I took here. That's just a trade, and now his rook is still in the corner, and his king's on e5, so I think I'm still doing well. Yeah, now I could play rook d4 check. I didn't do this in the game, but rook d4 check, and if here, I have this check, that would win the rook. Wow, computer says, who cares about a rook when you can have a queen? King f5. I mean, I would take that rook, but it's mate in 2. Queen to d7, it says, is mate, queen d7 check. Is mate in 2 because, let's see. Oh yeah, the king's in a mating net. Big time. Yeah, just this. I was thinking this. This isn't checkmate? It is, but the computer likes this. f4. Okay, so this could have went that way. I mean, this is basically a king hunt, right? So I checked, and now he blundered. Well, it must not be a blunder. Computer says this best move. King g8, but now I have rook d5. So that will be sufficient. And my opponent resigned. So, okay. I think I was very lucky to get this win. I don't think I played all that awesome. So let's see what we can learn from this. So in hindsight, I don't think I'll ever see this move again. Bishop takes c3. That looks ridiculous. You can't move your bishop every time in the opening. But that being said, I need to find the right moves, which I don't think I did. So like, for example, lesson number 1, bishop a3. There is no d6 because of e5. And because of that, knight takes, queen takes, rook f e1 would be winning. So black can't really deal with bishop a3. Next thing is, I was kind of scared of f6 during the game, but it turns out that I think f6 was really annoying for black. They can't put their knight on the best square anymore. So I think bishop g5 is actually okay. And this plan is fine. Let's see, another critical moment. Knight d4 was correct, so I'm really happy to see that. And instead of rook a to b1, rook a to c1. So in an Evans Gambit, but in a lot of chess games, if you can develop with initiative, with a threat, it's usually a good move, and here it is. Okay, this is a computer line. Knight h6, taking the knight was actually correct. I thought it might be, even though I didn't love doing it. Yeah, and here, queen d5 turns out was not a good move. In a practical sense, it was good because this is a rapid game. Oh, and I was already at 39 seconds. But queen f7, that looks annoying. So a better move was rook f to e1 here. Oh, and also I missed knight c6. After rook b8, knight c6. This is one of those cases. Tell me if you guys have the same thing, but it's like if I get a chance to play a move I've been wanting to play, I don't even look at the alternatives. And here, I mean, queen h5 check is basically a blunder because knight c6 wins. So I need to learn to pace myself even when I'm getting what I wanted. Like don't let emotions, positive or negative, drive you in chess. Yeah, and here I think this part of the game is all fine, I think. I did calculate this queen e7 thing. Well, with seconds left too, so. Yeah, this is all. I managed to win this. I could have easily lost as well, just due to time. But okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I actually turned on the camera, so I hope you appreciate that. And I'll be back with more chess. Okay, bye.